Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the end of the world as we know it, Chaos Kids, and we feel fine. I'm Naomi.
Do we? I'm Amber. This is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Do we feel fine?
This is fine.
Everything's fine.
Is fine.
Oh my God. It's a shit show is what it is. It's a fucking shit show.
Look.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things where I have to say it because when people in the States get all like, oh, this is it. This is the end of the world. It's like, okay, well, try living in one of these other countries that have been destabilized and under bombardment for decades because of, U.S. foreign policy. Tell them that suddenly now the world is a problem. You know what I mean? It's like, It's very like, oh, it's getting close to my doorstep now. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but yes, things are insane.
Yes.
And they're only going to continue to get more and more insane.
Of course.
We have to be fine. Otherwise, we'll lose our goddamn minds.
That's right. That's right.
So it's like, what's the alternative, sister?
Which would also be fine too. If you need to just turn it loose, turn it loose,
You know what? I'm going to suggest you turn it loose, but like near, I don't know, an ICE agent. You know what I'm saying? Like
something.
If you're going to lose your shit and you're going to do something crazy, do it to an ICE agent.
Yeah. God.
What's going on, sister?
But that's plenty. That's what's going on. I'm staying indoors, I guess.
And I feel fine.
I don't. Nothing about this is fucking fine. Oh my God. That's what's going on.
Oh, great.
Yeah. What about you?
Great. That's
Same.
Okay.
Have you gone outside lately?
Oh no.
No, we don't do that.
No.
Okay. All right. Oh my God.
You know what? The kids aren't here.
Ooh, where'd they go?
They went up to visit their family on the island. So they've been gone since, I can't remember now, Monday or Tuesday. I've just been all by myself in here.
Oh, nice.
Another reason why I haven't gone outside. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why?
It's perfect here right now.
I love that for you so
Me
much.
too.
Ugh. Love all that.
That's it. That's what's going on with you. What are you drinking?
Oh, thank you for asking. It's actually, I picked the wrong thing. It's called American Vintage, which that's nothing to celebrate.
Death to America. They chant death to America, Amber. And I'm like, uh-huh.
Okay. It's a red blend from California. Fuck. Why did I grab that one?
We need to stop boycotting U.S. made goods.
Oh my God. I hate everything.
I know.
Shit.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
Well, how about we just immerse ourselves in story?
Okay.
So why don't you tell me, yep, get your glasses.
Let me get
old
my
lady.
Okay, first of all.
Get your readers, dear.
Oh, here you go, dear. Here's your doll. Oh my God. Yep.
Why don't you get me out of today's reality and take me to some other horrible reality?
Well, yeah, I was going to say this reality isn't any better, but if I'll take you there. I'll take you there. All right. Do you want to go to Pasco County, Florida, April 7th, 2016?
Take me there. Let's go.
Okay. So a 911 call comes in from a woman who said she found a dead body in the woods while she was collecting cans. The wooded area is behind a shopping mall and butted up against a mobile home park.
Okay.
When police arrive, the woman who called is still at the scene and they speak with her and she points them in the direction of where she saw the body. So the police secure the scene and quickly get to work canvassing the neighborhood. They're hoping that there will be CCTV like cameras on the backside of the shopping center facing the woods and possible like ring cam footage from one of the mobile homes nearby.
Mm-hmm.
At first, the body looks like they are a white male. Next to this person was a shopping cart. They also look like they've been dead for about 2 weeks.
Ooh.
hmm Um, so they're super concerned that if there isn't any footage, that like it's already all the
It's
evidence.
already cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately, the first shop they go into, they learn that they just got new owners that moved in that Friday before, and the new owner had erased all of the old footage.
Oh, every time.
Every time.
Every time it's erased, it didn't record.
Mhm.
It glitched out just for
Mhm.
that 2-week period.
It starts over every 24 hours and it doesn't save.
Right.
What's the point of that?
I don't
What is the
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't even know.
So when investigators go back into the woods to look at the scene, they see one flip-flop on the ground as they're making their way towards the body, and it's clearly a woman's flip-flop. And once they get to the body, they see that this person is wearing what would traditionally be considered woman's clothing. But the
Okay.
body is so badly decomposed, they can't necessarily tell if this is a male or female, but based on the clothing size and like the stature, they believe that this is actually a deceased female. So,
but at first they thought it was a man.
yeah, that's what the can collector said.
Oh, okay.
hmm So, right away, one of the officers says this might be the missing girl from Newport Richey from 2015.
Wait, what year is this?
It's 2016.
So from a year before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what they think it might be, right?
Okay.
The woman had signs of blunt force trauma to the head. Her dress had been pulled up and it appeared as though her toes had been bitten off, likely by animals.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They send the body in for an autopsy, but before they can positively identify her, sorry. Blah, blah. Cut all that. Gary, cut that.
Cut
that.
Cut it out.
Cut it out. They send the body in for an autopsy. They also find in the woods near the body a bottle of rubbing alcohol and quite a bit of trash laying around. So it's hard to determine like if this was evidence or just like
Trash.
people are just hanging out back there, right?
Right.
So the autopsy reveals that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. They are also able to get fingerprints. Did you hear that?
Fingerprints?
Fingerprints. I need to take a moment.
Do it. Take a breath.
It's been a day.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. No, this is all good. Fingerprints
It's fine.
and all.
Everything is fine.
This is fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. They are able to get fingerprints from the body, like the suspect's fingerprints. Mm-hmm.
Wild. Okay.
I know. They also find traces of DNA, but they don't know if that was left by the killer or not. Probably they don't know the fingerprints either.
Sure.
So they start sifting through missing persons reports in the area, and right away, so it's not the missing girl that they thought from 2015. Sure. I started to put that in and then took it out because I actually want to cover that case later.
Yeah, don't tell me.
I won't. Okay, so they find that there is a missing 52-year-old woman from Alfred, Maine, whose name is Judy Therianos. Judy went missing March 14th, so about a month before the body was discovered in the woods. She had gone to Florida with her friend Glenda to visit another friend who had cancer.
Okay, so 2 friends went to visit a third friend in Florida who was going through cancer treatments.
Mm-hmm. So Glenda drove back to Maine and Judy stayed behind to help take care of her friend. Glenda says that because of the 20-year age difference, the 2 friends were often mistaken for mother and daughter, but she says Judy was her soul sister.
Oh,
I know. Through fingerprinting, they are able to determine that the deceased woman was Judy Therianos.
Oh, this is wild.
Can you imagine being killed while you're out of town?
No, I don't know.
No.
And you know what's wild about it too is that, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, if this is like, if you do this, but it's like, I mean, we kind of do. Even, I mean, there's this thing that happens when you're on vacation where you're like, I'm on vacation, and like your protocols go out the window.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what is that? It's weird.
You feel invincible.
It's so weird.
I remember more than once being on sissy trips with you. You might have been the one making fun of me about locking up, like whatever Airbnb we're in, like really locking it all up and shutting the windows.
I don't remember making fun of you for that.
I'm pretty. But you're right. You kind of, you know, yeah, I'm just going to walk around this town at night by myself, see what's going on.
I have totally done that. I have totally done that.
Totally. Yeah, it's weird.
In Manhattan. Just going to go walk around.
Sister.
You know what? It was fine. Everything was fine. I never had a problem.
Okay. Well, all right. So Glenda is able to provide them some information. She said that Judy had met this guy while she was in town named Charlie, who showed up at the home of one of their acquaintances. The only thing that Glenda knows about Charlie is that he's around 70 years old with a long white beard. So they need to figure out who this Charlie person is. But luckily, he just showed up at the police station about a week later, which they found odd.
Okay, here we go.
Charlie says he's been looking for her and everything.
Oh, has he?
He had some of her belongings with him, and he said that he had been with her prior to her death. He says that Judy had been staying at his house and that he took her to work Sunday morning for a catering job that she had. He said that he hadn't seen her since then, but he had talked to her on the phone. He said that she told him to meet her at Nico's restaurant to pick her up, and that when he got there, she wasn't there.
Is this Nico's place anywhere near where her body was found?
No.
Okay.
He said that he called her and she said she was at a different restaurant and needed a ride. And he said, okay, tell me the name of it and I'll come pick you up. But then the phone went dead. He said that when he called her back, it went straight to voicemail.
Okay, Charlie.
Well, just you wait. He says that he called her repeatedly, but she never picked up and she never returned his calls.
And he went to the police station?
Yeah.
He didn't go to her friend?
No, he went to the police station.
Why wouldn't he go to the friend first?
I don't know. Charlie, there's some characters in this story that are, they're not firing on all cylinders, most of them.
Okay.
You know, yeah, it's okay. So they're able to get to a location from, like, they ping her cell records and they can see where she was calling Charlie from. And they start reviewing all of the video from businesses in that area. And that's when they see Judy on video at a convenience store purchasing alcohol. And she's with an unknown younger male. So they grab a still of that man and they take it around to neighbors. And they come across a man named Grizzly who lived nearby in the mobile home park that knew Judy.
In the mobile home park by where her body was found?
No, I think this is a different mobile home park.
Oh, okay.
Just like canvassing the neighborhood from where they were. Yes, it might be. I think there's several mobile home parks in this.
In the story.
In
so
this vicinity.
Near where they, so maybe in one of the mobile home parks near where this footage was captured.
Correct.
Got you.
So they're talking to Grizzly now. And Grizzly says that he recognizes the man with Judy and that he even let the man stay a few nights with him. He said the guy was looking to get out of town and that he had just sold his vehicle for a plane ticket to Chicago. The man did leave behind a bag of clothes at his place and he hands that over to investigators. And
this story is just, what is happening?
It literally sounds like nobody really knows anybody, but everybody is just kind of hanging and like it's a free for all in and out of these homes. Like, yeah, I know so and so kind of. I let him stay at my house, and then
okay.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is literally like the kind of it's literally it sounds like a detective story. Is all I'm saying.
It
like
does?
a straight up true detective story where you're like, This clue led me to this random
Yes.
person.
Yes. Okay, so Grizzly hands over the guy's bag that he left there. And inside the bag were the shirt that he's wearing in the footage from the convenience store and the backpack that he had on him.
Okay.
The only other thing that Grizzly knows is that the man has a twin brother named Jared, but he didn't know anything else about him or his identity.
There's a
He let him stay in his house.
and he has a twin.
Yep.
Okay.
So as investigators are walking back to their car from Grizzly's house, another neighbor named Stefan came out and he said, "Hey, detective, can I talk to you about the IRS?" Wink, wink.
What?
He's like talking in code. He wants to talk about this murder, but he doesn't want to be overheard that he's like being a snitch. So he's just like, "Can I talk to you about the IRS?" And like,
Okay. What? These people. What is
this
going
story
on?
is it's Florida, Naomi. So they go inside Stefan's house, and Stefan says that he knows Judy and the man from the convenience store. He says that he had a conversation with the man from the convenience store later that night, like the night that he was spotted with her. And he said the man seemed like he wanted to get something off of his chest. And he said, "Can I tell you something really bad that I did?" And Stefan said, "I guess, unless you killed someone." And the man said, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about."
Oh,
Stefan said that he started freaking out and pacing, and the man told him that he got a rush from doing it. Then he tells him that he went back to the spot 2 times with rubbing alcohol to clean up. Stefan said that he was terrified, and for several days he slept with his door barricaded and a knife under his pillow and his phone in his hands. Stefan says the man's name is Timothy Johnson, and he had just met him a week prior because he was staying the night at Grizzly's house.
what? I don't even have words.
I'm so sorry. So they do a background check on Timothy Johnson, and they find that he has a lengthy criminal history. He had been arrested 4 times in Florida for aggravated battery and domestic battery. One of those assaults was just 3 weeks prior, before Judy's body was discovered. He had recently been evicted from his last home. He was drinking heavily, and one night he was out drinking heavily and broke into a woman's home in the middle of the night. He broke in through a window, and the woman was sleeping on her couch in the living room. He came walking up to her with a knife in his hand. This guy's unhinged.
Okay.
Luckily, the woman survived. So now they need to find this guy. And it's likely that he's in Chicago, based on what Stefan and Grizzly said.
Sure.
So it's now April 21st. But luckily, a quick search warrant leads them to Timothy because he was incarcerated at the Pasco County Detention Center in Land O'Lakes, Florida.
Oh, he didn't make
He
it out.
didn't make it
Florida.
out. He was picked up.
Okay.
Detectives head to the jail to talk to him, and Timothy says that he knew Judy because she would hang out in the neighborhood where he was staying. He says that the last time he saw her was in March, and he said this is the first that he is hearing that she's died.
Mm-hmm.
The investigators asked him if he knew her on a personal level, and he said that he did have consensual sex with her.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he had only had sex with her once, and when they asked him where, he said that he remembers being next to a dumpster.
What?
The lead female detective in this case, when he says this, gets like pissed off that he's saying this about her when she knows that that's not something Judy would have done. So she's like, "I'm just going to cut to the chase. I know that you killed her." And that's when Timothy asked for a lawyer.
Sure.
Before investigators even leave the jail, Timothy's cellmate says that he would like to talk to them. I told you there's a lot of characters in this. Sorry.
It's okay.
Don't want to talk about the IRS.
Jesus. Okay.
The cellmate says that Timothy told him that he was having sex with Judy and Judy wanted him to stop, but Timothy didn't want to stop, so he started to choke her.
Mm-hmm.
He said that she passed out, and at that point, he pulled her shirt up over her head and hit her in the head with a board.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. He said that he left her body in a wooded area. He also said that afterwards, he took Judy's debit card and went to a restaurant.
Well, I mean, he was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. You know, you work up an appetite
Oh my
murdering
God.
people.
It's so... I don't understand people. Police are able to get surveillance footage of Timothy at the restaurant eating. He's in the same clothing again as the convenience store footage and the clothing that was found at that home. And yeah, it's just like a Waffle House, and he just casually walks in and sits down at the counter and like eats lunch or whatever.
Okay.
Then the informant says that Timothy told him that he went back into the woods and had sex with the deceased body.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. With the physical evidence, including the security footage and the statement from the cellmate, Timothy Johnson is arrested and convicted of the murder of Judith Therianos and is sentenced to life in prison. Judy's son Sean said she lived a simple life and memories were more important to her than money. He knew that she was with some new friends that she had met from speaking to her days before, but he wasn't alarmed by it because she was always making new friends everywhere she went. He also said that he doesn't support the death penalty because he believes that his mom wouldn't have wanted it that way.
No.
I know. She's just kind of a free spirit.
Yeah.
And that is the murder of Judith Therianos.
That was wild, sister.
That was short.
That was wild.
I'm sorry that was so short.
No, it's fine. The random...
I know.
And like, I thought she was there to like help her friend.
I know.
I don't understand
I don't really either.
why she was staying with these random people.
I'm not really sure. She kind of sounded like a bit of a nomad.
Uh-huh.
A little bit. I think she was just kind of...
Well, anyone who can just like decide, you know what, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Mhm.
not going back. Like, that's pretty
Yeah.
like untethered to
Totally.
like a, right? Like a home base or whatever.
Yeah.
That's awful.
I know.
I kept waiting for it to turn out that it was like actually the twin brother the whole time or something. Like,
No.
that was such a random bit of information. By the way, he has a twin.
I know.
Well, rest in peace, Judy.
Yeah. Do you have a chaos for me?
I do, and you're gonna laugh
Okay.
in the very beginning because we did this thing again.
Again?
Well, sorta, because there's always something. There's always something. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna tell the story. I'm not gonna tell you what it's about until you're gonna figure it out on your own.
Okay.
It's 1988
Mhm.
in Vermont, and Jack Weiner is having nightmares, and he's telling his wife Mary about them, but she's the only one he's telling them to. He'd been having them for quite some time, like a year or more.
Mhm.
Jack's scary dreams are recurring over and over, the same thing. And he's trying to function. He's still going to work every day and stuff, but he's not doing well.
Mm-mm.
So one day Jack is talking to his twin brother.
Stop it. Is it Jared? Is it Jack and Jared?
No, it's Jim.
Oh. Jack and Jim.
And Jim lives in Maine, where the two grew up, and they also went to college there in Maine. And Jack asks
Also
Jim-
Maine.
also Maine.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so Jack asks Jim like how he's doing with his condition because 10 years prior in 1978, Jim was working as an electrician's apprentice, and he'd gone to a house to assess the wiring in the house, and he went looking for the fuse box, opened a door to what he thought was a small closet where like a fuse box might be.
Mhm.
But he had actually opened the door to a stairwell landing that led to the basement of the house, but there was no stairwell.
Oh my God.
And not knowing this, Jim fell into the basement and landed in such a way that he injured his spine and his brain, which basically gave him chronic lower back pain and epilepsy.
Jesus Christ. What was this like what's it called? The Winchester Mystery House?
I don't even know, dude.
That
right?
sounds like right
where
out
are
of
the stairs?
Roadrunner. Just wahoo! Right there. Why would that be?
I have no idea.
Wow.
I have no more context for that.
Okay.
So Jim also started having nightmares.
Is this creepy twin spazzles?
Sort of.
Oh God.
But they felt real. He felt like he was actually wide awake and conscious for these scary dreams. And at the time, he could only describe them as nightmares. He started having more and more of them, and it was affecting his seizure condition. He would wake up in the middle of the night in a state of terror, and it was causing his seizure activity to go up. But he'd never told his twin, Jack, about the nightmares. So Jim tells Jack, I'm not doing good because I can't sleep. And Jack's like, well, does the epilepsy do that? And Jim's like, well, I don't know, but I've been having these horrible nightmares. And Jack describes his nightmares to Jim. And they are the exact same nightmares that Jim has been having.
No, I just got chills.
They are dreaming the same shit.
No.
Jack described it like this. Quote, I was starting to have nightmares, really terrible nightmares that I could not explain. I found myself in a very brightly lit room. I had no idea where I was or why I was there. To my left, I could see my brother Jim, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Foltz sitting on some type of bench, and they were all naked. I was wondering why they weren't helping me because I felt like I was in danger. And while I'm trying to figure this out, I notice this figure or a dark, shadowy type figure emerging from this light, this bright light in front of me. I would wake up sweating and breathing heavily and just in a state of terror and shock. Jim said, quote, there were always certain elements of the dream that were the same. Some type of creature, being helpless, being violated was a feeling I often woke up with.
Oh, God.
The two men quickly realized that these dreams must have something to do with a trip they took with their friends 12 years earlier in the Allagash wilderness.
Where's that?
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Back in the mid-70s, Jim and Jack were in college where they had made friends with Charles Foltz and Chuck Rack. Charles met Jack first, and a few days later he met Jim, and the three quickly struck up a friendship. The house next door to the twins became available for rent, and Charles moved in. Over the years, the three became very close friends. It would be August 1976 when Jack and Jim invited Charles to join them and their friend Chuck on a camping trip they were planning in northern Maine. Allagash is in the very northern area of Maine, very near the border of Canada.
Okay.
The only way to get into the area they planned on hiking in was, or where they planned to go camping and spend this trip, was by bush plane. The plane could hold the pilot, 2 passengers, a canoe.
No.
And half their gear. Charles and Jack took the first trip. The plane landed on the lake where the two men hitched the canoe to the plane's pontoon and then unloaded their gear from the plane into the canoe and paddled it to shore. It was about an hour later that the plane returned with Chuck and Jim. They set up camp right there for the first night and started off the next morning on their canoe trip.
No. Also, that sounds very scary to be in a spot that you actually can't get out of unless a plane comes and gets you.
Right?
That sounds scary.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. I need to be able to run to my car.
Or it's something. Like, I need to be able to get there on my own accord somehow.
Yeah. No.
So this was the first time the twins had ever done a canoeing trip. And that first day, the group was canoeing on Chamberlain Lake, but they were paddling against a mighty headwind that meant that they only made it about half the distance they planned to make. They ended up making camp that night at Gravel Beach near Mud Pond. The wind was hammering the campsite. But across the cove from their campsite, they saw another group camped. who were faring better being on the other side of the cove from the wind situation. So after a couple of hours being battered by these winds, the 4 men abandoned that area to go join the other campers on the other side of the cove.
Okay.
This group was very concerned themselves because there were 2 young men, 18 and 19 years old, that were part of their group who had gone off on their own, and they had not come back for several hours, and no one had any idea where they were. They asked the 4 men, Jim, Jack, Chuck, and Charles, if they had seen these guys. It turns out that they had earlier on the lake. Everyone was worried that these 2 young men would be unable to find their group and get back to them now that it was night and so dark out there. So everyone that had binoculars was looking and out on the lake and scouring the lake from that campsite to see if they could see these young men out there paddling around trying to find the campsite. Right?
Yeah.
So one of the members of that other group pointed out a light off in the distance that was moving relatively slowly, and it was moving against the direction that the wind was blowing.
Okay.
It seemed like the light was right over Eagle Lake, which the 4 men were planning to be camping at in the next day or 2. The light was very bright, brighter than a planet above the treetops. It was round, spherical, yellowish white, and lasted for a few moments, maybe 30 seconds, long enough for everyone to get a look at it, and then it winked out.
Okay.
So everyone went back to what they had originally been doing, which was searching for these 2 young men that might be on the lake trying to find the campsite. And very soon after, they saw the 2 young men setting up camp across the cove at the spot that the 4 men had abandoned earlier because of the wind. Yeah. So, but everybody was relieved because they had been found, right?
Yeah.
So the following morning, the 4 friends got back to making their way on the leg of the trip that they had planned to complete the day before, right? After struggling for a good 15 minutes against the current of the stream that they were in, they were getting nowhere. They all got out of the canoe, tied a rope to the front of it, and started trudging upstream, pulling the canoe behind them.
This is sounding so similar to my German guys. And it's just, why are we going canoeing?
Fuck a canoe.
Yeah, just don't.
They were able to make it to Eagle Lake, and they were planning to stay at Thoreau campsite on Pillsbury Island, which is right in the middle of this lake, a location that Henry David Thoreau had camped many, many years ago when he was on his own canoe trip through the Allagash wilderness.
Okay.
But some other canoers had beat them to it and already set up camp there. So they went beyond the island to the other side of Eagle Lake and set up camp at a location called Smith Brook, where it's right near where Smith Brook empties into Eagle Lake. And they talked about doing some fishing there.
Okay.
They built a large fire so that they would be able to find their campsite when they returned from fishing out on the lake. It is so dark out there at night that the only way to find your way back is to have a beacon to guide you in.
Oh my God.
Like a lighthouse, basically. So they set out for the mouth of Smith Brook, which took about 20 minutes or so, and they had just started to fish. It's around 7 o'clock or so in the evening. The other thing about this wilderness is that it is incredibly quiet out there. There's no frogs croaking or crickets chirping. Maybe once in a while you might hear a loon cry. In fact, if the wind is blowing in the right direction, you can almost hear the whispers of people at other campsites carried on the wind in this mostly silent wilderness.
And sorry, what time of year is this again?
It's August.
Oh, okay. So 7 o'clock, it's still light out.
It's still light out now, but
Okay.
it won't be by the time they're done fishing.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think it's getting dark. It's starting to get dark.
Okay.
So they had just dropped their lines and started fishing when Chuck, from the back of the canoe, calls their attention to something that he was seeing. What they saw was something rising out of the forest about 200 or 250 yards away that Charles thought at first was the moon. But it was moving upwards out of the forest and then just stopped after the whole thing had cleared the treetops. It hovered above the trees. And then they thought this was the thing that they had seen the night before, only they were much closer to it this time. It made no sound at all. It was quite large, probably as big in diameter as a tractor trailer is long.
Okay.
The 4 men sat there for a while, fishing forgotten. and watched as this thing approached them, this glowing sphere with a yellowish white light, much like the color of the sun, with a weird roiling effect that was moving as if it was alive or like a plasma.
Mm-hmm.
When it was about 100 yards away from them, Chuck picked up a flashlight, one of those old big square flashlights with a handle.
Mm-hmm.
Holding it in his right hand, he put his left hand over the lens, turned the light on, and flashed SOS in Morse code because it was the only Morse code that he knew.
Sure.
He just wanted to see what kind of response he might elicit in this thing. Immediately, it stopped moving.
Mm-mm.
And then a beam of light comes from the bottom of the sphere and starts moving across the water right towards the four men.
No.
Jim puts his hand in the water to paddle a few times, kind of borderline panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And the other three men join Jim in trying to paddle away from this thing. Then Jim turns over his shoulder and looks and sees the beam is almost on top of them. Like it jumped from where it was to right next to the canoe in like an instant.
Mm-mm.
And he was thinking, this light is going to get us. There is no outrunning this thing. The next thing they all knew, the front of the canoe hit the beach and they were run aground. They all clambered out of the canoe and looked back at the water. And the sphere was out there hovering over the brook, maybe 30 feet above the water. And the beam was coming straight out of the bottom of it onto the water. It was close enough to them at this point that one of them could have thrown a rock and hit it. They all stood there just looking at this thing. And Chuck decided the thing to do was use the flashlight to send an SOS message again.
No, Chuck. No.
What are we doing?
No. I would have thrown a rock at it, though.
Would you have?
Maybe.
This time, the sphere moved away from them to the far side of the water and then started to ascend into the sky at about a 45-degree angle. Then it winked out from the outside in, almost like a camera eye when it closes. And then it was gone. Then an instant later, a beam was shooting out in that direction that it had been moving, and the sphere turned on again and then followed the beam and then blinked out again. And it did this like a couple of times as it moved off into the night sky, almost like stair-stepping away.
Uh-huh.
And then it zoomed off like a star in the sky. This all happened in a matter of seconds. All of this without a single sound. Then it curved off over the southwest at the point where it was like the size of a star in the sky, and it disappeared over the tree line in the distance.
Mm-mm. It's aliens.
They all stood there for a few minutes in silence, staring at the sky. And then in unison, Charles and the twins turned and walked up towards the campsite. Chuck was a few beats behind them. And that's when Chuck looked at the fire pit and noticed that the flames of the fire were like maybe an inch high. And he was puzzled about it for a second. But then he just asked the guys if he should throw some more wood on the fire. And they were all like, forget it, we're beat. And they all climbed into their sleeping bags and passed out for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Later, the men would say that whatever happened out on the lake with that sphere couldn't have lasted more than 20 minutes. The huge bonfire they had built should have burned for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And yet basically all that was left was coals, which means they were out there much longer than 20 minutes.
Oh, God.
Jack would also later recall, quote, "The unusual thing is that we didn't stay up for hours and discuss this thing, which is what you'd think 4 young guys on a camping trip would do.
Yeah.
We just seemed very fatigued and wanted to go to bed. The next morning, we got up and got a camp together and paddled to the next campsite."
Weird.
When they woke up the next morning, they had breakfast and broke down camp, speculating about what that was that they saw the night before and if they should like tell someone about it or something.
Yeah.
When they got back onto Eagle Lake to move on to their next camping destination for the night, they came across a ranger and hailed him down. They told him about having been chased across the lake by this light.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of squinted his eye, cocked his head in this really thick Maine accent. He says, "Well, what you boys probably saw was Hollywood searchlights. They've got a brand new hardware store down in Millinocket, and they just opened up and they've got them Hollywood searchlights shining in the night sky."
Mm.
But Millinocket, it's like 90 miles away from the Allagash wilderness, and between them and Millinocket is Mount Katahdin, which is like a mile high.
Mm-hmm. Also, that's
So-
not what they saw either.
That
That's
is not what they saw.
No.
Like, we don't know what Hollywood searchlights look like.
Right.
It's like when somebody tries to tell you that they saw Sasquatch like plain in as day, and they're like, it was probably a bear. Like, I don't know the difference between a bear
Right.
and like a man-shaped beast.
Right.
Like, I don't.
Right. Yeah. And especially like, God. And there's 4 of them. There's 4 of them
There's
saying.
4 of them saying this.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh.
So the 4 men spent another 10 days in the Allagash wilderness, but never again saw this light. When they got back to Boston, they, tell all their friends and family about this UFO sighting. They get all the usual responses. And after about a year, everyone went on with their lives and stopped talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So now 12 years later, Jack and Jim are tripping the fuck out that they're having these dreams, and they want to figure out what the fuck is going on. And they get in touch with Charles and Chuck, and the 4 men decide to go under hypnotic regression.
Oh.
Jim was having problems when he started to remember more. It was upsetting enough that they were worried about causing seizures during his sessions.
Mm-hmm.
They had to take him out of hypnosis often and bring him back in to keep him calm enough to recount the events. Jim would also do a sketch of the beings he saw in these memories, and the aliens had almost like an ant head without antenna. They were very thin arms and necks, about as tall as the 4 men were, some a little shorter, some a little taller, and they wore almost like a skin-tight clothing, like what skiers wear, like a spandex.
Mm-hmm.
He remembered some of the devices that they used, but that was all. He was pretty much in a state of terror the whole time he tried to remember. He mostly just remembered feeling like these things were going to kill him and he had to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Jack remembered a lot during the regression sessions. When the beam hit the canoe and he was looking up at it, that is when they got them somehow, because it was like some sort of transport beam or something, because the next thing he remembers after that is lying on his back, paralyzed. The only thing he could move was his eyes.
Oh my God. No.
He looked to his left, and in the periphery of his vision, he could tell the other 3 guys were with him, but also immobile.
Mm-hmm.
They were sitting on a bench of sorts that came out of the wall. He was thinking this was bad news. And why aren't my brother and my friends helping me? The space was impossible to figure out because it was so bright in there, like bright lights all around him.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing he noticed was these kind of hazy silhouettes coming out of the bright haze towards him. And there were 3 of them, 1 on each side and 1 at his feet. When they got close to him, he realized they were not human. They were just standing there looking at him, and he was freaked the fuck out, but couldn't get away because he couldn't move. Chuck's regressions were also extremely scary and uncomfortable. He had a hard time even believing the things that he was remembering, and when he was done, he was shaking, emotional, and his head was swirling, remembering being treated like a specimen in a lab.
Uh-huh.
When he came out of the regression, he was asked how he felt, and he didn't even know. When asked how long he thought he was in the regression, Charles said, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And he found out he was under for over 3 hours.
Oh my God.
He didn't speak for almost 24 hours after that session. And the first thing he did when he got home was grab a napkin, which was like the closest paper at hand. And he started sketching what he recalled from the regression. Mm-hmm. He drew their heads and also their hands, which were very different from human hands in that they had 4 digits that all 4 functioned like a human thumb. And they also had articulation in the pad of their hand between the 2nd and 3rd digits. So they could, you have to see these pictures. So they had all promised, all 4 of them, not to speak to each other about their regressions in order to compare their memories honestly without influencing each other in any way.
Mm-hmm.
They had also all been asked to make drawings of what they could recall. It took about a year or a year and a half before they were all done with all the regression work. And then the 2 men who were leading these sessions called Jim, Jack, Chuck, and Charles in to tell them what came out of these regressions.
Okay.
Except for a few details here and there, all 4 men had the exact same story.
Oh God.
All the sketches the men had done were laid out on a coffee table in front of the four of them, and they had also all drawn the same things. The only thing they could conclude from this was that these four men had experienced an abduction.
Mm-hmm.
It was after this revelation that the men looked back on the last 10 years, and especially the years immediately following that crazy-ass canoe trip, that they recognized they had been absolutely impacted in like strange ways by their experience. They all became obsessive in their work in ways they could not explain. For example, Jack had been in art school and been a traditional painter. And when he got back from that trip, he never painted again.
Oh.
He started working with paper and string and creating works that were like folded pieces of paper with the string, sometimes burning patterns into the paper. And it was all this like 3D mathematical stuff that he did like over and over. For years, he was just obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
And like obsessed with mathematics in general.
Okay.
Chuck had been into photography, and suddenly he wasn't into photography anymore, and he was drawn to medicine and physiology. Totally changed his whole focus.
Weird.
Jim was a potter, and he had spent the next 2 years perfecting new pottery techniques that no one else was doing. And he was like driven and focused just absolutely and completely on this process. He also became obsessive and compulsive about ancient temple architecture. He was convinced that ancient temple sites were macrochip technology and functioned as almost like a computer motherboard. Many years later in interviews, he would say he was still obsessed with it.
Wow.
The four men also were put through a series of polygraph tests after their regressions.
Magical cans. Yeah.
Magical cans. Yes. But the results of these tests were that the four men were all telling the truth as far as they knew it.
Okay.
The four of them were brought on to the Joan Rivers show about a year later, where they were polygraphed again and again passed the test. They were featured on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Is that where you saw this?
This is where I first saw it. Yep. A book was written about them, published in the mid-90s. There's been probably more than one book at this point.
Yeah.
And they have all maintained their story. Not
Jeez.
one of them has ever backed down from what they claim happened to them.
Oh my God.
And that is the Allagash abductions.
I just got full chills. No. That is wild.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Having the same nightmares too. And
over and over.
oh my God. That's so weird. I hated that.
I do too. But like, here's the thing. I've always been so on the fence about alien abductions.
Mm-hmm.
But then you hear stories like this, and it's like, these are just like four dudes.
I know.
You know? It's like the fire in the sky story.
I know.
It's like, how do you refute that? Like, what else could it be?
Oh my God, that's so weird.
I mean, if it's not alien abductions, if it's not aliens, what is it? Like interdimensional beings?
Something.
Is it fae? You know,
it's
like
something.
It's not just hallucinations. We're talking about four like rational, everyday, average people just going on a trip and like everything changed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you don't. That doesn't.
Yeah. Something happened out there.
Something happened out there.
Oh my God. I hate that. That's spooky.
It is spooky.
Oh, I have chills.
It's wild that they were having the same nightmares. They were both having nightmares.
Yeah.
The twins.
I know.
For like a long time before someone said something and was like, brother.
No kidding.
You know?
And did they not talk to Chuck and Charles for all those years? Or
I don't know if they didn't like not talk, but I mean, you know, you get out of college, you get married, you have a career, you don't have as much time to spend with like your college buddies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Plus, was it Jim? I think it was Jim. Jim was the one that he had moved to Vermont. So like he was like a good, 150 miles away from his brother. So, they're not seeing each other all the time.
Right. Oh my God. Nope. Hell no to all that.
I just think it's wild that like, because I also like have like skepticism around regressions and
Me too.
hypnosis. Like I know that we, there's a lot of like skepticism around that and a lot of different opinions about that. But the fact that they all specifically agreed, like, we are not going to talk about this
Right.
until we've all done it. And then we're going to compare our stories after that individually.
Right. That's
like, and then they all had essentially the same exact fucking memories.
the same pictures. I mean,
and the same pictures.
Oh God, that's spooky. And you have pictures of these pictures?
I have some pictures of these
Oh,
pictures.
God.
Yeah, I should be able to track them down. Yeah.
It's going to spook me out.
Yeah.
Oh.
These are definitely like the grays.
And I don't like that they like thought that it had been 20 minutes out on the water or
But
whatever.
it had been like hours.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I hate that too.
Well, that's what happened with the fire in the sky guy too, right? Because he disappeared for like 4 days or something.
Mm-hmm.
And when he reappeared, he thought it had been like an hour.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of that spooky story from Radio Rental about the guy that worked at the hotel that was just staring for hours and he thought he went upstairs and came back down.
Oh yeah. Well, I wondered like that's why I say interdimensional beings, because like, did they go to another dimension where like time is different?
Yeah.
Like it's right?
Yes.
Like it's moving differently?
Mm-hmm. Oh. I just get the chills. I get the chills.
This is the kind of stuff that just makes me like we know so little about this fucking universe and this reality. You know what I mean?
know.
Like we know so little about it.
I know.
Really, I mean, truly so little. Humans have only explored like 5% of the oceans. We think we know about the fucking universe.
Right.
Like,
and I wonder how many people maybe have had something unexplainable like that happen and they've just never said because they're like, shit, I'm losing my shit. Like
I just lost like 4 hours of my life. Where did that go? Yes.
Right. Yeah. So who knows?
Who even knows? Well, there it is, sis.
There it is.
We did it.
We sure did.
We did. Hey, you guys. You guys.
Hey, you guys.
That's the second Goonies reference today that I've had. We need your help. We need your help getting people to listen to us and then getting people to come join the Patreon. We need this.
Yeah.
We need this. Like, help us continue to entertain you.
Help me help you.
Patreon.com/yakety yak. Don't talk back. Crime, wine, and chaos.
That's right.
It's $5 a month. You get a bonus episode every month. You get new episodes every week, a day early. Sometimes we do virtual wine nights. We have a good time over there. And, you can poke around over there for free. You can join up without paying to be a part of the club. There's stuff that's not behind the paywall. So you can come hang out with us over there. We appreciate that. We love that. We love to talk over there. And give us a review.
Yes.
Wherever you're listening, give us a review. The more reviews we get, especially if they're good ones,
yeah, right.
the more likely we are to appear in people's searches,
Yes.
So tell your app that you like us so that other people will know that we might be worth listening to.
That's right. Little typey.
Typey. Sister.
Yes.
I love you.
Love you.
So chaotic.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
No. Bye.
No,
Okay.
you.
No, you hang up. No, you hang
No,
up.
you.
Bye.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Jeremy Williams. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Cheers!